Welcome to the Daily Spook. Today, we're going to be discussing 3 unresolved kidnapping cases throughout the past few decades. This is my first long-form video, so any feedback down in the comments below would be greatly appreciated. And if you like this video, be sure to drop a thumbs up. Alright, let's get into it. Eloise was an 8-year-old girl who was abducted from her home in Beaumaris, Victoria, Australia on January 12, 1976. Her disappearance has remained a mystery for over 4 decades, and to this day her fate remains unknown. In this video we will explore the details of this case, the investigation that followed, and the theories that have emerged over the years. Let's begin by looking at Eloise's background and the events that led to her abduction. It's worth noting there are a lot of interesting aspects to this case, and we'll be mentioning a lot of theories. Please never place blame on any individual, as there is still no evidence as to what happened to Eloise. But one of these factors is that Lindsay and Patsy, Eloise's parents, had been married for 10 years and had 3 children. Unfortunately, the couple was not in a great place. In fact, they were going through marital difficulties for quite a while leading up to the abduction. In January of 1976, they were preparing to separate as a couple. Then, the unthinkable happened. As soon as Lindsay Warid noticed that her daughter was missing from her bed, the Warid family immediately contacted the police and launched a search for Eloise, but she was nowhere to be found. The investigation that followed was one of the most extensive and thorough in Australian history. The police searched Warid's home, the surrounding area, and even the nearby beach, but no trace of Eloise was found. The police questioned the Warid family, their friends, and neighbors, but no one had any information about Eloise's disappearance. The case quickly became a national sensation, and the police received thousands of tips and leads from the public, but none of them led to Eloise's whereabouts. Over the years, several theories have emerged about what happened to Eloise Warid. Some people believe that she was abducted by a stranger who was just passing through the area. Others think she was taken by someone who knew the Warid family and had a grudge against them. Some theories even suggest that Eloise may have been accidentally killed by someone in her family, and her body was hidden to cover up the crime. Despite the numerous theories and leads, the police have never been able to identify a suspect in Eloise's disappearance. However, there have been some notable persons of interest throughout the investigation. One suspect was a man named Derek Percy, who was a known child killer and sex offender. Percy was questioned about Eloise's disappearance but denied any involvement. He was also linked to several other child murders in the area, but he was never convicted of any crimes related to Eloise's case. Another suspect was a man named Raymond Edmonds, who was a known pedophile and sex offender. Edmonds was questioned about Eloise's disappearance in 1976, but he denied any involvement. He was later convicted of several child sex offenses, but was never charged with Eloise's abduction. Now, in the past few decades, the police have continued to investigate Eloise's disappearance, but no new leads or evidence have emerged. But then in 2020, the case was reopened, and a new investigation was launched. The police have stated that they are using new forensic techniques and technology to re-examine the evidence and find new leads. Despite the lack of progress in the case, Eloise's family has remained hopeful that they will one day find out what happened to their daughter. In a recent interview, Eloise's brother David stated that the family has never given up hope and that they continue to search for answers. He also expressed his gratitude to the police and the public for their continued support and efforts to find Eloise. The unsolved kidnapping of Eloise Warid is one of the most haunting cases in Australian history. Despite the extensive investigation, the numerous theories, and thousands of tips and leads, Eloise's fate remains unknown. The case has left a lasting impact on the community and has raised important questions about child safety and abduction prevention. As the investigation into Eloise's disappearance continues, we can only hope that new evidence will emerge and that the case will be solved. In the meantime, we must remember Eloise and her family and continue to support them in their search for answers. 19-year-old Douglas Mueller was born on January 5, 1958, and grew up in Arizona with his parents, Lawrence and Beverly, and his 3 siblings, Dennis, Randy, and Lisa. While in high school, Douglas played both football and basketball before graduating and attending classes at Scottsdale Community College. While focusing on college, Douglas also held a job at the Whiting Brothers gas station chain, working at 7360 East McDowell Road location in Mesa, Arizona. On the evening of March 15, 1977, Douglas worked his scheduled shift at the gas station, but never returned home. It is unclear if Douglas went anywhere after he left work, but the next day, his family received a strange call at home. The unidentified person on the other line ordered the family to visit a specific payphone, located in the Scottsdale parking lot. Once they made the drive from Mesa to Scottsdale and arrived at the payphone, they discovered their son's driver's license inside along with a note. The note demanded a ransom of $50,000 for Douglas's safe return, but strangely, it was written in Douglas's own handwriting. The family gathered the money and left it at the designated location, yet Yet, it was never collected. 3 more calls came into the family's home from an unidentified man, each call again demanding $50,000. Every time the family would drop the money off where the man said, it was never picked up, and the calls stopped coming in. Douglas's car was eventually found abandoned at Sky Harbor International Airport in Phoenix, but it provided no clues as to what may have happened to him. In 2007, a femur bone was discovered near a popular hiking trail in North Scottsdale, with authorities believing it had been there for at least 5 years. The bone was taken to a lab where DNA profiles were created, and forensic scientists determined the bone belonged to a white man in his 20s. For some reason, authorities didn't initially believe it could belong to Douglas, as they determined that he would have been 49 years old in 2007, and the bone belonging to a 20-year-old. But as we know, Douglas went missing at 19 years old, basically putting him in the appropriate age range. In July of 2008, learning that Douglas's parents were still alive, they connected DNA from Lawrence and Beverly to test again the DNA profile of the bone. They determined it was a match. The finger bone belonged to Douglas Mueller. Believing that there was no way the bone could have been left out in the elements for 30 years due to the condition it was in, police believe the body had been buried underground before being dug up, and the bones were scattered sometime in the prior 1 to 5 years. The case was later reclassified as a homicide, but it has since gone cold. The man who phoned into the family still remains unidentified. But it seems clear that he had involvement in what happened to Douglas, as Douglas's driver's license and a note in his handwriting were left behind at the payphone. In 2008, investigators were talking about searching the surrounding area for the rest of Douglas's remains, but it doesn't appear to be an update about their findings. As of early 2024, the case remains unsolved. On a chilly December day in 1983, a young mother, 18-year-old Eleanor Mary Williams, found herself in a bustling Trailways bus station in Washington, D.C. She wasn't alone. Cradled in her arms was her 3-month-old daughter, April Nicole Williams. They were on a journey from their home in Suffolk, Virginia, to Kansas, eager to visit Eleanor's boyfriend. It was a significant trip for the duo, especially for little April, who had never ventured too far from her home. But at around 3:15, the atmosphere in the station changed. Amidst this setting, a stranger appeared to Eleanor, striking up a conversation. This woman, slender and standing at about 5'3" tall, had an unmistakable look with her short reddish hair styled in braids, giving her a youthful appearance, most likely in her early 20s. As they began to chat, Eleanor, perhaps in a moment of maternal pride, shared that she had once considered naming her daughter Latoya Renee. Coincidentally, or so it seemed, the stranger mentioned that Latoya was her middle name. The conversation meandered to astrology, and Eleanor mentioned April's birthday was August 17, 1983. A Leo, just like me, the stranger remarked. Then, in a gesture that seemed innocent at the time, the woman asked to hold April. She walked towards a nearby Hardee's under the pretext of buying a soda, with baby April in her arms. It was the last time Eleanor saw her daughter. April was a 24 inches tall, weighing 11 pounds, dressed in a blue sleeper with a red number 1 on the left side, and wrapped in a pink and white hooded snowsuit. A distinctive 1-inch birthmark was on her right wrist. The disappearance of April Nicole Williams sparked one of the largest manhunts in Washington's history. The prevailing theory was heart-wrenching. The stranger, who had casually introduced herself as Latoya, likely took April to raise as her own child, possibly fleeing the Washington area to avoid scrutiny. Somewhere, possibly oblivious to her true origins, April might be living a life unbeknownst to her biological family. In their hearts, her family clings to hope, hoping for the day April discovers her true identity and learns how deeply missed and loved she is.